Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Monday, February 12th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is host of the Kind of Funny Xcast, Snowbike Mike.
Blessing, my dude. Good morning. Happy Monday to you and all that are watching and listening. Nice to be back at the desk with you talking video games, homie.
Happy post-Super Bowl day. How'd you enjoy it yesterday?
You know what? Had a blast. It was a great game. Most importantly, we went to overtime, which is always special. Second time ever for that. We had
the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
When was the last one? Because wasn't there one like recently? I feel like I remember watching an overtime Super Bowl in the last 10 years.
Chat, give us a fact check. When was the last overtime in the Super Bowl? I don't remember, Bless. 2 record-breaking field goal kicks. Always exciting to see that.
That was really cool.
Man, the boot on some of these dudes continues to get bigger and bigger. Yeah. Right? 54, 55, whatever those numbers were. Insane numbers there, big dog.
Any commercials you really enjoyed? Did you have a favorite commercial or favorite meme or favorite ad?
You know what? No. I saw Jesus was back. Shout out to Jesus again.
Shout out my guy.
I don't know what they're conveying to me in those, but I'm one of those dumb TV watchers where all of a sudden I just see Jesus at the end. I'm like, all right, Jesus,
That was a fun one because I was we did our Super Bowl watch party here at the studio where we turned the video wall into a video TV and we watched the Super Bowl. But I was out there with I think Roger or somebody and we had the TV up out there as well. And we're just looking at it trying to figure out what this commercial was. Yeah. And then I forget what the words were. Maybe it's like he's back or something I forget what it said. But it was something that we were like, oh, all right, Jesus. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I'm glad that they were able to be like, oh, it's Jesus that's back, not JFK Jr.
Oh, yes, that guy, yeah.
No love for Deadpool and Wolverine,
big shout out to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, very interesting move though. Of give us a teaser, and then the trailer's online now.
I think that's because of the content of the trailer.
Okay,
I think for them they didn't want to edit the trailer down to be too clean because that's not what that movie is. And then you can't have them making jokes about pegging and shit during the Super Bowl.
I also imagine it's because of just the time slot as well on how long those commercials can be for the Super Bowl. Because I think it's a 2-minute trailer or something like that. So I imagine they also needed to shave it down just so they weren't taking up too much time or whatever.
Yeah, I mean we got Planet of the Apes. That trailer was very dope. Mm-hmm. You got Twisters.
I didn't see the Twisters thing.
Okay, yeah, you should
Twisters?
Check that out. Twisters is the sequel to Twister, but with Glenn Powell.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
I don't think
there's 2 of them.
I don't think I knew Twister was a thing.
Oh, you'd like Twister. Twister's good.
Right,
yeah,
cool.
Twister gave me nightmares.
How does it compare to Sharknado?
Way better.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
sick.
Way better.
Yeah, no, Deadpool and Wolverine is up there for me. A lot of people were sending me the Michael Cera ad.
I was going to ask you if you like that.
Yeah,
one.
lot of listen, everybody. I saw the Michael Cera ad.
To you too.
When I tell you, so many people sent me the fucking ad. But yeah, I saw the Michael Cera ad. I appreciated it. And then the Wicked movie is coming.
Yes,
and
Wicked.
I am such a fun fact about me. I tweeted this today that my sister was a theater kid growing up, and she would introduce me to tons of musical songs, and The Wicked was one of our favorite ones that we would listen to together. And so Defying Gravity, Popular, all this, most of the soundtrack, we would just listen to those songs on repeat. But I've never actually seen The Wicked musical in full.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been trying to make it happen for years, and it's been both the thing of the pandemic and then travel plans and multiple things stopping it. This year, I plan to see The Wicked live in musical, and then after that, I want to go see it in theaters when it comes out. And so I'm very, very excited for that because my history with the Wicked goes back.
Okay, yeah, eyes on that one. I mean, all around good time. Shout out to Patty Mahomes and the team for getting it done. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Shout out to Taylor.
I mean, come on, all around.
Shout out to Nickelodeon too. Did you see that stuff?
Come on. Come on, man.
SpongeBob and Patrick giving commentary.
I would love to know what a kid's perspective is on that. Right,
I remember
if you put yourself in a kid's shoes. Do you really want to watch football, even if it has Patrick and SpongeBob carrying the broadcast? Is that something that interests you? Because when I was a kid, it was put on Ben 10 or put on Jackie Chan Adventures. Give me the cartoons.
I forget if they ever showed the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon, but I remember there being things that were more adult leaning. I don't know if you remember Nick News.
No.
Nick News was a thing, but it was just news broadcast, but Nickelodeon. And as a kid, that shit would bore me to tears. I did not want to watch that. I think even as a kid watching the Super Bowl, I would be like, no.
You turn that off immediately.
For sure. I'm all right, cool. I'll just go watch Cartoon Network instead. But still cool. For adults, and I think they understand that a lot of that broadcast is for adults.
For mom and dad to be able to watch the Super Bowl while semi-entertaining
having the
child
there in the room.
I like that. Yeah,
because they're making jokes about fucking Leonardo DiCaprio.
That was crazy. That was out of pocket.
SpongeBob fucking roasting Leo catching strays. But yeah, yesterday was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Also, Usher. Oh my god.
Usher,
the halftime show.
That was
one of my favorite halftime shows.
Yeah, I heard some people didn't like it. I loved it. I was all about it. But I'm also a millennial who loves Usher, grew up with Usher. So, like, to see all those songs performed, loved every moment.
Who wouldn't like it? Like, aside from Tim Geddes, because I know Tim Geddes just has beef with Usher.
I think there's a lot of older generation football fans that hold, like, the Prince, the Michael Jackson, Rolling Stones, they hold some of the older ones way higher in regard than all these newer ones.
Yeah, that's
I think it's
oldies.
just musical taste. That's all it is.
Oh, they're just fucking old.
Just depends on what you like.
Wake up and dust. I just shake off the dust off their bodies. Like, fucking,
exactly. Don't worry about it. New football now.
fucking open your mind, open your heart. Mike, enough about all that. Let's talk about today's stories, which include Phil Spencer says Xbox is still going to make consoles. Leaker claims that the Starfield rumors are false, and more, because this is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. For a chance to be a part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. Housekeeping for you. Our Banishers Ghosts of New Eden review is up right now as a brand new episode of P.S. I Love You XOXO. It's up over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. And then in case you missed it, a new episode of Game Showdown is up right now, where I make the crew guess games based on their soundtracks. That's also up over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. It's more of a media episode. Usually I try to keep them to like 30 minutes, but this
that was a very good episode.
45. It was very fun.
Yeah, all blessing. I mean, everybody gives you your flowers, but I'll give your flowers some more. Incredible. A must watch. Always fun. I think this is some of the best stuff coming out of Kind of Funny. It's like every Friday, this is must watch, or during the weekend. Bless, you know me. I'm a YouTuber during the weekend. I love watching this. Good job.
Y'all should also watch the Xcast. I don't have it here in Housekeeping.
Yeah.
It's one I've been meaning to get to over the weekend.
Oh, yes.
That
it was
Xbox
good.
Conversation.
I had Khalif and I had Paris on. We talked about the rumors, and now we have the update to that, and we said, hey, next week we're going to have the Xcast following whatever conversation that Phil wants to have about this. And so you'll hear Bless, you'll hear Greg. I think we're going to pretty much have the whole team on this. It'll be very interesting to see.
Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Streaking Ain't Easy, and Delaney Twining. Theory brought to you by Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Factor, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 7 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Now, I say 7, even though number 1, it looks like there's breaking news. So would that make it 8?
Yeah. 8.
Yeah, we have 8 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
A baker's dozen. I am opening up a tweet. This is like opening up a present because you don't know what
it's a big deal right now.
Xbox tweeted out at 10 a.m. right when we went live with the show. Please join us for a special edition of the official Xbox podcast. Hear from Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty as they share updates on the Xbox business. Okay, again, February 15th at noon. Interesting. Okay, this Thursday.
And it's a podcast.
And it's a podcast.
Yes, I think that's what's going to catch everybody here is the format. I think a lot of the discussion was, how does he present this information, right? Is it a blog post? Is it a small Twitter video? Is it some sort of presentation that we all tune into Twitch or YouTube as a live broadcast? A podcast. Very interesting. I think a podcast allows for a longer discussion.
Yeah.
I think you see the 3 big names there, right? So, like, does somebody accompany them from the official Xbox podcast, like a Jeff, like a Tina, like a Malik, or is it the 3 of them? Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
But, like, how do you fill out 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, right? A podcast?
Does it being a podcast do anything to your perception of what this is going to be? Because for me, I look at the idea of, hey, we need a podcast for this. We really need to have a conversation here.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is one of those ones where, like, I'm like, hey, can we talk about this through text? It's like, no, we got to talk in person. Like, we got to be able to draw this out.
That's well said. Yeah, I don't love it, right? As a consumer that just wants, give me the information now. I don't want to get lost in an hour-long to 90-minute-long discussion, which now, to me, if we were breaking this all down, means like something's going down here. If we got to have a podcast for this, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I go back to last week's Xcast. Paris said something so great of like, no matter what they say and how they present it, afterwards, there will be questions. And they need to go on some podcast, some news outlet, and talk about those questions. So maybe this is their best answer of, hey, let's just answer it all right then and there.
I like it as a format, especially if this ends up being what we've talked about in the last week of, hey, we are going to be publishing our games on other platforms, on other console platforms, right?
Yeah.
We're going to bring Indiana Jones, Gears of War, Starfield, whatever it is, to PlayStation and Nintendo. I think if you're going to do that, based on even the last week of reaction from the audience, people going back and forth, the Twitter spaces, the videos, the tweets, all of it, right? Like, there's a lot of heated and emotionally charged conversation that people are already having about this shift in strategy. And I think if you're Xbox, right, like if you're going to give us this business update, I think you really do need to make it a conversation. I think you really do need to go, all right, let's sit down and really explain why we're doing this and give you, let's say if it's 45 minutes to an hour, let's give you that 45 minutes to an hour of us talking you through this decision and hopefully answering all the questions that we know you already have. Because I think the upside to this stuff being reported earlier than Xbox probably would have wanted it to be reported is that they already see the reaction and they can already see the questions that people have about this. And so I think this allows them to get ahead of it and go, all right, what are the top 5 things we keep seeing brought up? Okay, people think that we're not going to make consoles anymore. People think that we're going to lose value as Xbox. People think yada, yada, yada. You take all that stuff and you make those the key bullet points of the podcast. After like the initial, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Now let's go through the frequently asked questions. Are we going to keep making consoles? Yes. Then you explain why. Is this going to lose us value? No. You explain why and you go about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well said, Bless, and that's exactly what is going to happen here, right? My worry is on a podcast form, I think you'll have a lot of jabronis out there that will listen to the first 5 minutes, give up, and make their own thoughts and opinions on that, which I hate, right? But I'm excited to see what happens. You have 3 big names out there, right? I know everybody kind of went through the restructure on their new job titles, but I mean, Sarah Bond, president of Xbox. You have Phil Spencer at the tippity top, and then Matt Booty, who is overseeing, I believe, more than just first party now. I think he's got all 3 of these jabronis. ABK, and
he's got head of Xbox Studios.
Yeah, he's got everything going on. So, I mean, they're the 3 right people to bring, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be a good conversation. How do they lead it? How do you keep it interesting? And how do we as the consumer take it all in? I mean, it will be a good time regardless.
So our first 4 news stories here all have to do, if I count correctly, right? Yeah, all have to do with Xbox to some degree. And so I'm going to bring in story number 2 and probably story number 3, depending on how this goes. Story number 2, Microsoft has no plans to stop making consoles, according to Phil Spencer. This is Wesley Yinpool at IGN. Amid increasing speculation about the future of Xbox, its exclusives, and even its status as a hardware manufacturer, Phil Spencer reportedly told employees last week that it has no plans to stop making consoles. Reporter Shannon Lau said in her weekly Substack industry newsletter that Spencer moved to reassure staff during an all-hands meeting on Tuesday. Quote, the company held an internal Tuesday town hall where Spencer told employees that there are no plans to stop making consoles and that Xboxes will continue to be part of a strategy that involves multiple kinds of devices, Lau reported. Microsoft has yet to comment. Lau's report has come at a time for concern for the Xbox brand, with various articles indicating recent first-party games are going multi-platform, and Microsoft is ready to ditch physical media completely. Some have even wondered whether Microsoft will exit the console business, but Lau's report suggests Xbox is here to stay, at least in the short term. Mike, is this what you expect?
Yeah, 100%. I think last week, like you said, very well said, was emotionally charged week from the fan base, from consumers, and I think we quickly went down a very rapid, slippery slope to just jumping to Xbox is now out of the hardware game. My digital library is gone forever. It's over. And I don't think that was going to happen overnight. I didn't think we were heading that way, right? We had, of course, the FTC documents shared or, accidentally leaked, but we all saw those. And we saw that the mid-generation updates, we saw the next gen. I didn't think Xbox was going to jump out of the hardware game this generation or even next. I think they are committed to that. There's a lot of roles as well tied to that within the company that, we talk about layoffs, Bless. That would be a huge hit to hear from Microsoft. Hey, we're completely cutting our hardware division would be wild. But I didn't have any worry that we were going to lose our consoles next generation or beyond.
Yeah, I think it would be a fundamentally different business if Xbox decided not to do consoles, right? And I think the reaction to, hey, let's start publishing games on different platforms and the idea of Xbox losing hardware completely, I do think that those are 2 separate things, right? That, I think in a certain universe can be related, and even in this universe down the line could be related. But I think that is such a snowball effect of, years and years and years of them constantly or consistently removing themselves out of the gaming business that I don't see that happening. Like, I don't think the idea of Xbox going, let's publish Indiana Jones on PlayStation, is Xbox also going, also let's stop making Xboxes.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's validity in the strategy of, hey, we are going to make Xbox still the best place to play for Xbox players. That means we're going to have Xbox Game Pass be a thing on multiple platforms. That means that as Xbox hardware, we're going to give you like the most high-tech or like high-end Xbox hardware in the Xbox Series X or whatever you call the next-gen thing, right? But we're also going to have the lower end for you to get in for cheaper than even a PlayStation 5, right, with Xbox Series S, which is why the S has done so well. And I think beyond that, you get to play around with the idea of maybe having a streaming stick or maybe having even like more powerful hardware or maybe going crazy with what your ideas for what Xbox hardware can be. But I think for this, like the shift is Xbox is the platform. Hardware is almost more of an accessory, right? Hardware is an additional way to get in, but you can play Xbox on your Xbox hardware or on your PC or theoretically on your PlayStation or on your Samsung Smart TV. Like that's where this is going. And I don't think that, I think the idea of, I think I have two things I want to say, right? Firstly, I'm still not convinced that we're going to be day and date for PlayStation stuff.
Okay.
Like, I think the strategy is still going to be, hey, we'll launch on Xbox and PC first, and then give it months to a year before we actually come to PlayStation. I think that allows you to have your cake and eat it too. Yeah. Where you can still like, all right, you have a reason to want to have an Xbox, but we're still going to make that money off of PlayStation. That's one thought. There's not 100%, but if I'm somebody who's at Xbox and I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a way that's going to, hopefully retain the strength of like our hardware business, that's the way I would go about it. But even if that's not the case, right? Like, I think my other thing still to it is that, like, you're still making so much money off of other platforms. You're still making so much money off of PlayStation. And so, I don't know, like, I find it difficult, the idea that Xbox is planning, at least at this point, to remove themselves from the hardware race.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. Like, 5 years, 20 years down the road, they do eventually want to get to that streaming stick only, right? Or, hey, we're inside of your television, right? In the future, that's how this eventually will go. But for right now, it is hardware. And I want to give kudos to Phil, but also at the same time, like, it should go unsaid. But, like, nice of him to then reach out to the staff and say, hey, I'm sure all of you saw the rumors going crazy, and maybe you thought your jobs were at, probably an impasse, or maybe we were going to get rid of you, or we weren't going to be in the hardware sales. Nice to give some reassurance to the staff there,
I mean, I know so much of how we receive this stuff, or like so much of how we gauge opinions and all this stuff is on Twitter, is on the internet, because that's the easiest place to get this. I was having conversations with people who are friends of mine that work in the games industry, and I was like, oh, you guys see the Xbox stuff last week? And they were like, dude, at work they're making jokes of like, oh yeah, and we're working on this Xbox version if Xbox still has a console. And like, I'm like, oh, even like just in general, in the real life, like people are like, is Xbox still making consoles? Like, what's going on with this? And so it's wild to see how this is kind of like expanded out. But yeah, I don't think, at least in the short term, for now, anything's happening to Xbox hardware. I don't think even Xbox wants anything to happen to Xbox hardware. I think there's still money in that. I think there's still value in that too, in terms of retaining an audience. I think you still want to do that. Let's bring in story number 3 to add a bit more interesting aspects to the story. Story number 3, Starfield going to PlayStation 5 is false. It is claimed. This is Stephen Kirby at Insider Gaming. Reputable insider and leaker Nate the Hate has taken to Twitter to shoot down the rumors that Starfield will be coming to PlayStation 5. Earlier this week, a new report claimed that Starfield was on its way to the PlayStation 5. Nate the Hate confirmed that the news was accurate minutes after the report, stating this report is accurate. However, things have seemingly changed, and now Nate the Hate's latest tweet suggests that the information is not accurate. Taking to Twitter, Nate said, quote, I've rechecked the info mentioned below, and information suggesting Starfield was PS5 bound is false, end quote. Whatever the case may be, the rumors of Starfield coming to the PlayStation 5, in addition to various other rumors, including Indiana Jones and Gears coming to PlayStation 5, prompted Phil Spencer to announce a new business update regarding the future of Xbox, which will be coming this week. According to Tom Warren of The Verge, Microsoft is ready to reveal details on the company's plan to bring previously exclusive games to consoles like PS5 and Switch. Quote, we're listening and we hear you, Spencer said. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox, end quote. Another interesting one.
Yeah, I think Paris Lily said it so well of like, hey, let's all just chill out until we actually have the real information here, because it's just rumors and speculation. And a lot of those rumors were like, the team is considering or has considered in the past, which, Blessing, we talked about during all of the acquisitions that, back in the day, Nintendo was on the list, of course. Other studios were on the list. Inside the boardroom, they're throwing out any consideration, any idea that could possibly be there. And so, of course, all of these titles were probably in a conversation at one point, but we never had the real information. I think we all quickly jumped on these rumors, and a lot of the fans went out of pocket and kind of wild with that, right? And I believe Nate the Hate, I think the Starfield one started with Xbox Era, if I'm correct. Nate the Hate was the one who started with the Hi-Fi Rush and possibly Sea of Thieves, or maybe it was just Hi-Fi Rush, I believe is what Nate the Hate said. But when I look at the Twitter sphere that I keep an eye on with all of the Xbox stuff, it feels like there's like 7 dudes that probably all getting fed similar information, and they're waiting for one guy or one girl to tweet out theirs and then say, oh yeah, I might have heard that too, but I didn't want to be the one, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, we should always be waiting for the official word. It is one thing to, hey, there's some smoke over here. People are saying this. Maybe we keep an eye on that. But, it's hard to tell that there's a fire going on until it actually comes out, right?
Yeah.
Because we're just guessing.
You hit the nail on the head, right, in terms of how this stuff works with insiders and the way they receive information.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is just different pieces to a puzzle. Oh, man, I've heard this from the person that I know that works at Xbox or has connections at Xbox. Oh, you heard this? Well, this lines up with what I've heard. And then like a third person pops up and goes, oh, this lines up with what I've heard too, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that every piece of the puzzle is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Especially when it is things of, hey, I've heard that we're in conversations to do this thing. Conversations change, right? This comes back to the rumors years and years ago of what was it? Not F-Zero. It was Star Fox Grand Prix.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Yeah, where I know that one seemingly ended up as maybe Nintendo trying to flush out a leaker out of their own business.
I tweeted about this. I saw a logo for that game, and I won't say how or why, but like that was a thing going around, and yeah, I think that's more of a Nintendo move to like kind of flush shit out. But,
yeah, and that's like that's a wild example because like that is a very specific. Hey, we're trying to figure out who the fuck is the snake here, and we're gonna fucking find them. And so you give some wild ass game, and then like that's how that happens. But to the other extent, right? It is maybe Star Fox Grand Prix was in conversation, right? Or maybe like, hey, certain things were part of a plan that got changed. It's the way too where we see leaked documents for things that are planned out 10 years ahead or 5 years ahead or whatever it is. And you can trust so little of that information. Late last year with the whole Xbox court trials where the upload of the documents got messed up, right? And all the information became public of, oh yeah, Bethesda was working on this, and this. And like we're in 2024 and you had like a Wolfenstein that was supposed to come out last year, right? Like you had wild ass games that were supposed to be out by like a new Doom and shit like that. And we don't see those games because plans change, things shift. Video games are so hard to nail down in terms of when we want these things to drop and when they're going to be ready to drop, or if these things are even going to come out in the first place. And so when it comes to these conversations, I do think, like Tim Getty says, where there's smokes, there's flames. There's going to be some sort of multi-platform move. I don't think Phil Spencer is playing this business update in a few days to go, hey, nothing's changing. Like we're Xbox and we're doing business as usual. I don't think that that's what this business update is. I think they're going to talk about shift in strategy. I think where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I do think also, like based on what we just read, not necessarily everything is going to end up being multi-platform, right?
Of course.
Maybe it is, all right, Gears collection is coming to PlayStation, whatever it is, right? But Starfield, we don't have plans for Starfield right now. Maybe we have plans for Starfield in 2 years, 3 years, who knows? But it's really hard to take a lot of this stuff at face value. You can only estimate with it.
Yeah, of course, Bless.
Let's move on. The story number 4, new data suggests that PS5 has outsold Xbox Series X and S 2-1. This is Michael Kripe at IGN. It looks like Sony's PS5 has sold around double the number of units as the Xbox Series X/S, according to data shared in a recent Take-Two Interactive earnings report. In one slide, the gaming company shared that 77 million Gen 9 consoles have been sold as of December 31st, 2023. While that figure doesn't give us too much insight on its own, on December 20th, 2023, Sony announced that it had just sold a little over 50 million PS5s. Microsoft usually keeps its numbers under wraps, but with Take-Two's information in mind, we can estimate that Xbox Series X and S sales sit at around 27 million units sold. It's an approximate look at the state of Gen 9 that keeps in line with previous sales updates. In July of last year, Sony revealed that its latest PlayStation consoles was still going strong with 40 million units sold. At a games event in Brazil around this same time, Xbox Series X and S sales were said to be just over 21 million. Both the PS5 and Xbox Series X launched in November 2020. The Sony console received a bit of an update with the Slim model last year, while the Xbox Series X consoles haven't quite gotten their mid-gen refresh yet. Leaked documents suggest that Microsoft might have plans to release something later this year. So PS5 has outsold Xbox Series X 2-1. Mike, how do you read that? Is that surprising? Is that we kind of guessed that it would happen this way based on
I was expecting something higher, to be honest with you, Bless, but 2-1 is solid. I mean, truly, to me, when I read all that and I hear that, it's like, man, console sales up right now. A lot of people buying consoles from PlayStation, Nintendo to Xbox. That's a lot of consoles sold. And that number 2-1 doesn't wow me, right? As someone who was part of the Xbox One generation and saw that nosedive that the team took from the Xbox 360 world over to that and now beyond. No, I think people have ingrained themselves in the PlayStation console experience. It is going to be very difficult if you are on the Xbox side, on the business side of things, to sway people to now leave that ecosystem to come over. It's going to be tough, right? And we've also seen that Xbox on the business side is trying to move themselves, not out of the console business, but to try to find new ways to elevate themselves, not by just the plastic box. Through Game Pass, through PC, they're trying to build an ecosystem where Xbox is kind of everywhere and you can subscribe now and be a part of that. Now even possibly buy their games on other platforms. We'll see at the end of the week. But, I mean, hearing that number, no, not at all. PlayStation has had a dominant force and dominant run since PS4 and now onto this. I think that's just fine with me.
Yeah, I think that these are expected numbers, especially when you go look at the numbers of last gen. I don't know if we can get maybe a kindoffunny.com/you're wrong unless you have the facilities to Google this, Barrett. Like PS4, Xbox One, what was the sales ratio there? Because I feel like it was similar, if not even more of a gap between PS5 and Xbox One, at least in the, let's say, like the first half of that generation. I remember it being like almost 3-1 or something like that. I don't know how it was toward the end.
Xbox One?
Yeah.
Okay. And give me a second.
You know, we could also talk about games as well, because games sell the consoles, right? The reason why I'm going there is the game.
Yeah.
You know, Xbox hasn't had the greatest of starts here for this Series X generation. I think the first year, they didn't even have a good year, right? I think when you think about their launch lineup, wasn't that great. You had one good year with a Forza Horizon leading the charge. You got an issue when your racing game is leading the charge here. That's probably kudos to the team at Playground who made a great game, and it is an awesome game.
One of my favorite Xbox.
But, like, we're talking about a racing game leading the charge for your console. That's not really where we want to hang our hats, right? We want that to complement everything else. Halo Infinite had a good start, fell off so quickly. We've seen Psychonauts 2, but we know what Psychonauts 2, it wasn't truly theirs. It was also shared everywhere, so, like, that was a tough situation. Xbox really hasn't had an incredible start to this generation at all. We also had a dry year that had nothing going on. We had a Redfall year, Starfield being mixed. You either loved it or you hated it. It hasn't been an incredible start to this generation to say, oh, that 2-1 gap should be smaller. Absolutely not.
It's hard to hit the same highs as Psychonauts 2. Like when you come out swinging, Mike, it's just like you can't really. Don't you say anything, Bless. You didn't even finish that game.
Listen, it's hard when you drop Hi-Fi Rush. It's like, what are you supposed to do after that?
True.
You know.
So lifetime PS4 sales as of right now is 117.2 million, and the lifetime sales of Xbox One was 58. So roughly in the same ballpark.
Roughly 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, like, I think this is to be expected based off of those numbers. I would have thought that maybe Xbox Series X would have had like a better ratio against PS5 just because they've had time to. Like the Xbox One launch was so fucking rough.
Yeah.
Xbox Series X launch better than Xbox One.
Great.
But yeah, in terms, like you said, right? In terms of the games, I guess you haven't had the games to really sell the consoles like that.
If we broke down the past 4 years, you would go, "Oh, that's not amazing, Mike. It's good. I want to give them kudos, but it's not great. It's not a system seller. You got to buy this over your PlayStation, right? If you were a PS4, I mean, Phil said it on the podcast, right? The PS4 and Xbox One was the start of a digital library forever.
Yeah.
Right? You bought all these games digitally because we were sold on the idea of no more physical media. We got the download speeds. I don't want to take up space. I just want to be able to own them and have them, right? When you start that, you don't really want to go back off of that, especially if you can only buy one box. It would be tough for me to look at you after I bought 500 plus Xbox games and be like, you know what, Bless? I'm ready to say goodbye to this plastic box and only buy a PlayStation because I don't want those anymore. Now it's just gone, right? That's tough to restart on that. And Xbox will always be at a disadvantage because of that. And so they have to move. And they also don't share many console numbers. We know that. And they're not really sharing Game Pass numbers with us unless it hits a big milestone. But their tactic is now meet us at Game Pass, which is probably the goal here from now on.
Of course, you guys can write in with YouTube Super Chats where you can ask questions, give us comments, etc. Madognick96 says, this is wishful thinking, but any chance of a shadow drop after the Xbox podcast on PlayStation 5 or Switch? You think we can get a shadow drop of a game?
Hi-Fi Rush?
Ooh, like coming this week?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about, say that one more time?
So like they do this Xbox podcast.
Yeah.
Do you think this week we get a shadow drop?
I mean,
of a game coming to PS5 or
Switch? So yes, Bless. In my mind, if this didn't go down like it did, if we didn't have a hot week of emotions and the idea of games coming around and people freaking out, if it was the start of the year where we speculated Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves to a great Xbox developer direct, none of this that just transpired, yeah, this is how this would have gone.
Yeah.
Hey, let's have a conversation. Let's be open and honest with the business. This is what we're doing. Hi-Fi Rush is now available on PlayStation, Nintendo. And we would have celebrated that because a lot of people, I think, got over that. They were like, you know what? Hi-Fi Rush was a great game. People should be playing that everywhere. It's not a big exclusive tentpole title like a Halo or Gears. I think now they probably might be like, you know what? Let's give it a month or two and then release it over there because I think it would have been a great celebration for that, for sure.
I think they stay the course. Like if the plan was to release Hi-Fi Rush, during this Xbox business update, like according to the way Phil phrased it on Twitter when he announced the business update, this was planned anyway, right?
Yes.
Like they were planning to do this business update with all the rumors of Hi-Fi Rush and like Bill Kuhn. Whenever Bill Kuhn says something, it is imminent. Like that thing is about to happen. Like there is a store page that is made for that thing. What's up, Eric?
Chat also brings up who was it? JB1521 says, Hi-Fi, if a Nintendo Direct is happening this week, there's a good chance that Hi-Fi Rush is there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
feel like how this is all kind of lining up,
especially if they line up. Yeah, like if there's a direct, like Thursday is this Xbox thing. What day?
I'm convinced Directs usually happen on happening on Thursdays, so it's like, oh god.
Directs happen on Wednesdays sometimes, right? I feel like Wednesday is like a good direct day. Thursday is like a state of play day, right? Except for this last state of play, which
I don't know. I always think Directs is Thursdays for some reason, but maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, honestly, there's not really a rhyme or reason to it. Really, it is whenever they want it. But yeah, I think to your point, if they did a Direct, let's say Wednesday, and went, hey, Hi-Fi Rush is out today for Nintendo Switch.
Then we talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, and then the day after, Xbox is like, all right, Hi-Fi Rush is now available on the Switch. Let's talk about that, right? They give a big thing.
Hi-Fi Rush will, if this is what it's doing, it will be part of that podcast, of course.
Yeah.
Right? It will probably be one of the names, one of the games mentioned of like, hey, you will see this on Nintendo and on PlayStation. We're planning that. It's doing that. Here it comes.
And I think Hi-Fi Rush is a banger game to do that with because you've already shadow dropped it before, right? Like you did it last time. It was fucking great. It's an amazing game. You shadow drop it on other platforms, have people interact with it the same way, have people on other platforms fall in love with it. And yeah, like you start to share the love a little bit and build hype for the brand. That way, when you drop Hi-Fi Rush 2 on Xbox first, like you have people go, oh man, I played that on my PlayStation. I should go get Game Pass so I can play this on my PC.
What if I paid $15 a month and play it right now?
Yeah,
bang,
exactly.
There it is.
I want to bring in another question from, I got quite a few to bring in here. You know what? Before we even get there, let me tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can go and get the show ad free. You can also do it with a YouTube membership or a Kinda Funny membership on YouTube, not YouTube membership. But speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
We are brought to you by Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a standalone game that welcomes fans and newcomers alike. You don't need to have played Final Fantasy VII Remake or any other Final Fantasy titles to play and enjoy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The combat is not traditional turn-based and has more action-focused gameplay, with even deeper improvements since Remake, with new synergy attacks and team-based combos. And there are large open sections to explore, with Cloud and his comrades venturing across the planet, their fates unwritten, making every step in the expansive world outside Midgar fresh and mysterious. And of course, there are dozens of mini-games. There's a story recap video of Final Fantasy VII Remake for those interested in learning more about the story so far, and those looking to experience Final Fantasy VII Remake fully can pre-order the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth Twin Pack, which includes the game plus the DLC episode intermission at no extra cost. You can download and play a demo of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now on the PlayStation Store, and you can pre-order the game in the link in the description. The wait is almost over. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is out February 29th. Get hyped! This episode is brought to you by Factor. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan plus, veggie, and more. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. 2-minute meals allow you to fuel up fast with Factor's restaurant-quality meals that are ready to heat and eat whenever you are. Factor's less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian-approved to be nutritious and delicious. Get as much or as little as you need by choosing 6 to 18 meals per week, plus you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. No prep, no mess meals. Factor meals are 100% ready to heat and eat, so there's no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed. Head to factormeals.com/kindafunny50 and use code kindafunny50 to get 50% off. That's code kindafunny50 at factormeals.com/kindafunny50 to get 50% off.
And we're back. And we got more super chats for you. DJ Kento writes in and says, Xbox would lose so much business dropping consoles. So much of the world is unready to switch to streaming. Even developed cities in Australia have bad internet. I do agree with that, right? Like the idea of not everybody can get into streaming right now.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, right? And I think we continue to say, oh, we're not ready, but like certain places of the world and like rural areas are getting up to being ready, but that's still 15 years, 10 years down the line. That is a far future for us all to be streaming things. We're not there yet. So no, I don't think we're out of the console space anytime soon. But it's the future, right? It's easy to be like, oh, it's so far away, but like we see how fast time flies.
That's the thing is like
that's the scary part about this is like we say 5, 10, 15 years. You blink an eye, it's going to be there.
I feel like sometimes we act like technology can't have the space to grow, right? Or can't have the space to get better. And I look at like, game streaming or, there was an example I had that I just lost. But like, or the Apple Vision Pro, for example, where it's like, people are like, oh, it's too expensive. Oh, what the fuck is this thing? And I'm like, listen, I'm with you in terms of we don't know if this thing's going to blow up or not, but the whole point of the Apple Vision Pro currently is to be for those people that want to get it day one, right? It's for the early adopters. It's not for public consumption yet. Let's see if it can grow. And like if it gets there, right? If it has space and it is able to 5 years, 10 years down the line be a broad consumer product, then cool, like you did it. But yeah, not every single piece of thing needs to be, all right, we're launching this new idea and it's at its fucking peak already, right? It's like, no, some things have to start in their infancy.
Yeah, a lot of people worry that like, oh, this happens tomorrow. It's like, no, we're building to get to that point tomorrow, right? Like the goal is to start this up, test it, run it, beta phase it, whatever you want to call it, and then have the infrastructure around us to build up to that point where we're getting at. But we have to start somewhere. It has to start now or we're never going to start.
Exactly. Dear Sixer writes in and says, just a heads up, 7 Rebirth may have started leaking according to the game's subreddit.
Whoa.
So be advised and start muting terms on social media.
I better hide. I'm so close to the end of my Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see it yet. I got to make it.
Immediately mute the terms Final Fantasy cat, and then you'll be safe.
Yes.
Let's move on to story number 5. Speaking of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sparks a yellow paint debate once again. This is Wesley Yenpool at I got some thoughts here. I got some thoughts on this one, Mike.
Good. Break it down for me, bro.
This is Wesley at IGN. With the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo in full swing, players are enjoying getting to grips with getting to grips with Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and co. In this PlayStation 5 remake of one of the most beloved role-playing games of all time. But it has also sparked yet another debate about the ways video games help players work out where to go, this time via yellow paint. If you've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you'll have seen it. Color-coded paint that signals the parts of the environment that can be used for platforming. The debate in summary, some people don't like how in-your-face this hand-holding is in Final Fantasy VII Remake and indeed modern video games. Others, however, point out that it can be helpful and is an important accessibility feature. Developers too are weighing in, with some highlighting how in playtests and focus groups, players sometimes struggle to work out where to go, get frustrated, and quit playing altogether. Because of this, somewhat obvious and sometimes unrealistic visual clues are needed to help point players in the right direction. Others say that video games have featured visual clues for exploration and progression for decades now. Indeed, Digital Foundry's John Linneman pointed out that the original Final Fantasy VII included visual aids of its own. Mike, have you been seeing this blow up over the weekend?
I saw some discussion. Shout out to Steve Saylor, who spurred this for me. Steve is always on the forefront of accessibility talk, and so that's where it kind of came into my mind. But, I mean, we've always talked about yellow paint, so I'm sure we'll talk about it again many times.
This for me is similar to like the Insomniac puzzle or puddles conversation when we're like, oh man, the Spider-Man puzzle or keep saying puzzles. The Spider-Man puddles don't look that as good as they did in the trailer. And I'm like, we're really getting mad over the smallest thing here. Like we're really getting too upset over the smallest thing here. That said, I do find this to be a way more of a fascinating conversation than the puddles thing. Because the puddles thing was purely, all right, who gives a fuck if the puddles have more water or not, right? Like, who cares? This is like a game design conversation that I think is interesting from the idea of, all right, why do we have the yellow paint? And is the yellow paint, like, is this the right decision or not? In my eyes, as somebody who doesn't have to go through the process of making a game and playtesting a game and watching focus groups play a thing. Oh, Bear, I wanted you to wait to bring this up, but I'll bring this up in a second, right? Wanted people to wait watching people play a thing, right? And like seeing focus groups struggle with trying to figure out where to go. I think the question you have to ask yourself as a developer is, what is the kind of game that you're wanting to make? Are you making, for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, an open world action RPG where you don't want people to fucking struggle climbing walls? Or are you making a puzzle game? Or are you making something that is, hey, figuring out what ledges to grab and how to climb this thing is part of the puzzle, right? Like I think of and I've not played Jusant, so I don't know if Jusant has yellow paint, but I'm thinking of something like Jusant. I'm thinking of something like Assassin's Creed. I'm thinking of something like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, where climbing is so core to the experience, and you want people to think about the way that they're climbing. In a game like Resident Evil 4, like Barrett brought up, right, or Final Fantasy VII Remake / Rebirth, I don't think you want people to be spending 10 minutes of their time staring at a wall and going, is that where I go, or do I have to like fucking push up against all these different walls? Right. Like I think the having an indicator to tell you exactly where to go is very okay in that circumstance. Now, every game is using yellow paint or not every game, but a lot of games are using yellow paint as the thing, right? As the way to indicate. Maybe there's a variety that we can mix up there to like make it so that I'm not having to follow yellow paint in every single game.
That's where I come from. It's like from the climbing community. Why not just make it the chalk, dusty white or gray, and then have the accessibility option of turn on yellow so people can see it for any sort of color blindness or anything that, I can't see that dusty gray mic on the wall. Let's change it to something brighter. I totally get that. And yeah, as someone who gets lost all the time in these games, I love being able to know where I'm supposed to climb. If not every wall is climbable, then you have to tell me, the player, where the wall is climbable. Right? We're not playing Zelda where I can just grab a hold and start climbing it. Final Fantasy wasn't built like that. So
exactly.
It's going to have some sort of indicator.
That's not the type of game Final Fantasy is. And also, it's not fucking real life. It's a fucking video game. And so, like there's going to be indicators telling you exactly like where to go, right? I think there's some people talking about like if you're mad about Atreus spoiling puzzles in God of War, you can't be mad about this. My argument back about that, right, is that God of War wants you to solve its puzzles. Like I'm somebody who I complain about Atreus talking too much, and also Aloy in Horizon when they tell you like what you need to do for the puzzle, because guess what? It's a puzzle. I'm supposed to solve the puzzle. Right? When I'm playing Resident Evil 4, the point of Resident Evil 4 is like the gameplay moment isn't trying to make me go, oh man, where do I need to climb right here? No, it's like, here's some paint so you know how to get to the next place, because the puzzle is more so about like getting the key item to get to the next thing. Now, I say all that, right? I'm in support of the yellow paint or at least like some kind of broad indicator to let you know which way to go. That said, bring up Resident Evil 4, because I use Resident Evil 4 as an example. I also think that Resident Evil 4 Remake broke people on this. I don't think it was that much of a problem before Resident Evil 4 Remake. As somebody who played Resident Evil 4 and saw the yellow paint in this game, it's kind of egregious in this game. Look at this fucking ladder.
A lot, bless.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's a ladder. You don't need the paint for the ladder. Like, you fucking people, if there's a ladder, you can probably climb it. I'll tell you right now, not every ladder in every video game is climbable either. So it's a fucking weird problem.
Okay.
Because on one hand, do we need this much paint on a ladder?
Does that fit the tone of the moment? Was there paint all around there? Did Eddie the painter really just drop paint on that?
No, because the paint is everywhere in Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
It's like it definitely doesn't fit the moment. It's definitely like they're putting paint on the ladders, they're putting paint on the crates, they're doing all this shit. I think because of the way Resident Evil 4 Remake did it, it kind of broke people's brains a bit because Resident Evil 4 did go pretty far with it. I think maybe the crates could have been like the breakable crates, maybe could have had the highlight, or maybe could have had like a I don't know, a different color, specific, maybe you could make them green or some shit, but that also would have been weird.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil 4 did throw yellow paint on every single thing. So now I think people are conditioned to go, when I see yellow paint, that means bad. And that means bad game design, which when that isn't the case.
No.
It's fine.
Yeah. So now, when will we see the moment where someone says, okay, you don't like yellow paint on the ledges. Let's make them chalk outlines so you know people have been climbing this route and then have the toggle on and off. Do you think we ever get to that moment? Where someone says, okay, we've heard this conversation, we're going to have the toggle on and off.
I think the toggle on and off, it depends on the game. Because again, like there are certain games where it is like I really don't want to struggle. Like if I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West, just let me know where I need to climb. Like don't make it a struggle. I think Horizon has like the highlight button that you use and like it like scans the area and then like you'll see climbable ledges. And I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
But you like some games need it because some games you don't just automatically assume certain things.
Okay.
And so I think for those kind of games, don't toggle it. Like just keep it on because people will complain otherwise. For other games, like if it is like a puzzle sort of thing, or if this is a game where part of the experience is about the climbing, then like put on the toggle, like give people the option, make it more of a challenge. I think that's fine. Yeah.
It would be fun to have a real game designer on the show talk about this and be like, if we put the toggle on, 1% of all of our users will ever use that toggle, so it doesn't matter to us and we're never going to do that. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you.
It's like a small number who are like, I have to turn off the yellow paint. Like, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, like seeing yellow, it's so tough seeing people seeing yellow paint in Final Fantasy and getting mad where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are we so mad about this?
Yeah.
Like, I was breaking my brain this weekend, but I get the heart of it. I get that y'all played RE4. Moving on to story number 6. Helldivers 2 defies studio expectations after selling 1 million copies. This is Chris Kerr at Game Developer. Arrowhead Games' manic sci-fi shooter, Helldivers 2, has sold around 1 million copies in 4 days. The title launched for PS5 and Windows PC on February 8th and is currently smashing internal estimates. In a post on Twitter, Arrowhead CEO and Helldivers 2 creative director Johan Polestet explained the game was sitting at around 1 million copies sold as of February 11th. Notably, he added that it's blowing through Arrowhead's sales expectations. Helldivers 2 became one of the top-selling titles on Steam over the weekend and peaked at precisely 155,926 concurrent players on PC alone. The Sony-published title is also available on PS5, but it's unclear how those 1 million sales are split between the two platforms. You been playing more Helldivers 2?
I have, and you know what? Shout out to the team. Congratulations to them. That is a big marker there, and I think, we'll have another conversation about PC day and date and how that probably really benefited this, but hey, for the team itself, you made a great game. Great job after either 9 or 7 years. We've been talking about Suicide Squad as well, but both of these teams have taken some time to get here. And to make Helldivers 2 a big success like this is right now, congratulations to them, right? Because that top-down twin-stick shooter was frustratingly difficult and fun as can be, but now you put it as a third-person action shooter, and it is a blast. So shout out to that team for making a hit. Yeah, that's a big deal.
I've been getting a lot of FOMO saying everybody else hop into Helldivers 2. I've not had the time this weekend. I was at that Super Bowl.
You're busy.
You're
a busy dude, Bless. We know that.
And I was also playing that Tekken.
Oh my God, no, we got to talk about Tekken a little bit.
You're an addicted sicko, and we need to pull you out.
I'm an addicted sicko. I also got other games I'm playing, but man.
I mean, yeah, this is so much fun. The game is a blast to play with friends. I haven't played it solo, but I never had the plan to play this game solo, so I can't give you that mindset there. But I will say, playing it with friends is a ton of fun. It's a lot of laughter. It can get strategic. It can get just dumb and goofy. You can make it ultra difficult if you really want to. But the worlds are beautiful on PC. I hear my buddies say they don't like the look of it on PlayStation 5. It's not as crisp and clean as the PC version.
Well, that's always going to be the case. But
yes.
I'm not a snob like one Andy Cortez.
Yeah. But the PC version runs well. I'm happy with it. I know a lot of people hit bugs and they were getting game crashes. We didn't experience the craziness on that on our end, so I think we were just on the lucky side. But ton of fun, beautiful landscapes, fun, scary-looking monsters. The robots definitely steal the show. It's an all-around good time.
I've been too scared to go back to the robots, Mikey. I did try to play on my own this weekend, which was a big mistake. I was getting the hankering I think like Saturday morning, or I think it might have actually been like late Friday night, and none of my friends were online, and random matchmaking wasn't working. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna try and jump in and see how this goes. And I was able to do my mission for the most part, like pretty easily, all this stuff. And then it got to the extraction part of the game, Mike, which you know at this point of like, that's when it's getting the most chaotic, and you're getting hordes and hordes of bugs. Like, I couldn't even get a moment to call the shit to get the 2-minute countdown. It was fucking insane.
Yeah.
But I was still like, there's some moments of frustration, but like once I eventually died but still completed the mission, I just didn't get the extraction. I still like was laughing and having a good time, and then I played more I think Saturday night with Greg and Corey Cudney and Beans, and that was a fucking blast. We weren't even on comms, but it was just like super chaotic and fun. And this is, very surprised, at least after this first week, this is a contender for me.
Shout out to this game for being so involved, like we talked about, right? Like going to a spot, having to type in a code, or have to be more active in situations than, hey, you've arrived, now stand here for 2 minutes and just kill monsters mindlessly. I like that the game is very active. Let's talk PC day and date, though, because that's where I really want to give kudos there. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're talking about growing your audience, making sure that these, live service games as a service, whatever you want to classify this title and more in, you have to have a wide net here. You have to cast that net and get people on. And if this game was like, hey, we're only on PlayStation, we'll see you on PC in 6 months to a year, I don't think we'd be seeing the same success. Actually, I know for a fact you would not be seeing the same success. Having crossplay ready to rock and roll, being day and date on other platforms, huge win and the right move, right? We've seen Xbox start to do that. I'd like to see PlayStation do that, but they don't have to. When you're in first place, you don't have to. And normally their games are single player, right? But like when we see a games as a service world that they want to do, it should involve
Helldivers
PC day one.
Is the right game to do.
You know what I mean? Yes.
Sure. And I think for all of their multiplayer / live service titles,
gotta be.
I think they gotta be day and date PC and PlayStation and crossplay and all that stuff. You can't get, this is a dumb question, especially because I'm hosting or I'm on the PlayStation podcast. You're not getting trophies when you play on Steam, right?
Steam has their own achievement system.
Yeah.
I am not earning
You're not earning PlayStation
trophies.
They
No.
gotta fix that.
Yeah, see, Xbox has that figured out where like you're earning the Xbox.
I'm surprised they haven't
I guess if you're on
this
Steam,
is the thing.
I don't know,
These are conversations we had years ago at this point on PS Love You about like, oh yeah, if PlayStation is doing this like live service push and they're also doing this, putting their games on PC, then surely they're going to let you log into to PSN on PC and earn trophies and do all that
What's the
stuff.
percentage though? Of
what?
people that actually care about trophies.
Oh.
Like now let's have
there's
the real
enough people.
conversation. What's the percentage of people that would notice that and care?
I think you make more people care by putting it on PC.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you get that audience and go. But like the problem with it is that at that point you're making a launcher or something.
Yeah.
And like they don't want to do that.
That's what Xbox has, is the Xbox
Xbox
Now you
launcher.
gotta have that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Steam's
you don't,
going to be.
you don't want that. You don't want that.
We
It's
don't
not
want
that good. It's not that good.
Let me tell you.
You don't want that
if
Xbox PC launcher.
If you
I'm
don't
telling
like
you.
the Xbox PC launcher, if PlayStation made a PC launcher, when I tell you, it'd be
You don't
so
want
much
that.
fucking worse than the Xbox one. You would like open up the PlayStation PC launcher, and your fucking computer would start smoking.
Oh.
And be like, oh, what the fuck is this? This doesn't make sense. Let's move on to our second to last story. Story number 7. One Piece and Final Fantasy are reportedly coming to Fortnite. This is Rhiannon Bevan at The Gamer. A bunch of Fortnite collabs have seemingly been leaked, including One Piece, Final Fantasy VII, and Spider-Man. If true, you might start seeing these crossovers very soon. As it seems, the Final Fantasy characters would be added to celebrate the launch of FF7 Rebirth later this month. This comes from the rumor mill section of the Xbox Era podcast. Damn, Xbox Era is just fucking leaking everything.
Yeah, Special Nick and that team, they got some connections.
His name is Special Nick?
Special Nick. Yeah, Special Nick. Good podcast. Seemingly good dudes. I've never met them, but I listened to the podcast, and they seem to have some insides, right? Like they seem to be in the know on a lot of things. So,
Like, how did we become those people? Me and you. Because
maybe I read my DMs.
Here's the thing, right? Because oftentimes I do know things, but I don't share them because I don't want to be those people.
Okay.
Because I look at Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jeff is like, Jeff knows things.
Yes.
And people look at Jeff to like
And Jeff
tell them things.
Jeff does a good job.
Jeff does a great job
of being able to say when I should say this, when I shouldn't say this. Is there validity to this? Is it real?
But it feels like such a weight on your shoulders when you because now whenever Jeff talks, like Jeff will give an opinion and people are like, Jeff Grubb is reporting it. And I'm like, I don't want people to do that to me.
Many times on his podcast, he will also say, hey, this is just like speculation, or this is he has to like frame a lot of these things now that whenever he says stuff, So.
I think at one point, whenever I start to get tired of this whole podcast kind of funny, I think that's when I'll start to be that person.
You want to be the insider guy.
Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be a very interesting pivot when I'm like, oh, let me tell you all about God of War 4.
I think there's a dance that you could do, Bless, right? People come to you for, of course, your industry knowledge, for your opinion on things. I don't think that it would be out of line for you to, if you wanted to start having that kind of angle, you could do that kind of stuff, right? But I would expect the utmost out of you, right? I see a lot of you, and I see a lot of others where I expect the best out of them, right? If they're going to give me this kind of information, I expect them to be truthful, knowledgeable, and I think we also have to remember that no one's batting 1,000 here.
That's the thing is, I don't want to be.
You're gonna miss.
I don't want to be in that situation where I get something incorrect.
You know what? Me as the viewer shouldn't hold you to that, right? If it's like that, I'm not going to be like, if Blessing doesn't bat 1,000, I'm never going to listen to him. I'm never going to.
Because then it's going to be like, it's 3 years later, I'm still talking about Wind Waker remaster.
I think a lot of things happen like that, and it goes person by person. But Xbox Era seems to have their self in the know there. You know what I mean?
The No would be the name of the podcast. We just call it the No. The No. The video games, the No. But yeah, this comes from the rumor mill section of the Xbox Era podcast, so take it with a pinch of salt. However, one of the hosts says they were given the list of collabs by one of their sources and was at least confident enough in this source to share the news with the. That's the other thing is I'm like, what context are you in where somebody hands you a list? Here's a list of people that are going to come to Fortnite.
Here's a list. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a giant list of things coming to Fortnite.
Of course.
You got, I'm sure there's a list of like, here's what's coming. Because
I think how it works is that like, you say one thing.
Yeah.
Or like you get one piece of information, you share it, and then all of a sudden your inbox starts to get flooded.
Of course.
Because I have it sometimes where I don't even say things, right? Okay. Like we just talk about things on this podcast, and I get a few people in my inbox being like, "Oh, you said this thing. Actually, it's this thing," and I'm like, "Oh, interesting." And I don't share it, because I'm like, "That's not on me to share." Like, that's not the kind of content creator I am yet. But like, But like, at what point do people just start DMing me lists of Fortnite characters? Because I go through this list and it goes like this: Doc Ock from Spider-Man. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, He-Man and Skeletor.
Hey now.
Peacemaker, Robin from Batman, Magneto, Colossus and Cyclops, Fantastic Four, and One Piece. That's crazy. Somebody just sent that to the Xbox Era guy.
That is the next 6 months to a year of possible characters dropping here. Maybe even more.
That's so cool to be that person.
Yeah, you know what, Bless? I think
good for the Xbox Era podcast.
You have to put yourself out there. Like, you have to have moments like this. You have to say it more than like you're open to receiving this. And you have to encourage them to say, hey, I will receive your information. I will not share it unless I see some validity to it, unless I feel comfortable sharing that. But I will gladly receive.
For the record, for me, at this moment in my career, I'm not sharing anything. Correct. Now, later on in my career, when I get tired of this whole thing, and I'm like, you know what? Let's spice things up a bit. Then maybe I'll go Jeff Grubb route. I'm like, all right, now we're sharing things. But you can still share it with me. I won't share it. But listen, I'm not trying to be Jeff Grubb yet.
Snowbike Mike does not read your DMs, so don't send them to me.
He doesn't even read Slacks.
You hyped for this One Piece thing? Is One Piece going to bring you back to Fortnite?
So now let's talk about these. Let's talk about these possible characters. Yo, One Piece. So who's the One Piece? Right? Because we're hitting Luffy.
Yeah.
But like, are we doing Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami?
Yeah.
Are we getting Chopper?
These aren't
Chopper
as a
backpack. It's Chopper as a backpack.
Oh, Chopper as a backpack is a fucking great.
Are we getting Robin? Frankie?
There's not a Frankie in One Piece.
Frankie, and he does this, and he's got a star tattoo on his forearms, and they make a star.
That's crazy. They can make stuff up like that.
I think it's just the OG 4. I think Chopper's a backpack is a really.
Oh, you're putting Usopp in that?
Ooh.
See, like I don't think it's the. I think it's Nami, Zoro, and Luffy. Yeah, everybody gets 3 because now the fun part is how many characters are you allowing in each one? Is it a 3-pack?
I think
it's just one.
I feel like for One Piece,
I think it'd be weird to not have Sanji and Usopp.
I mean, I agree there. That's the problem.
Maybe it's like they do the OG 3 first, and then they drop Sanji and Usopp later.
Well, technically, the OG 3 I thought was Usopp in there. Oh, I guess it's Is it Zoro, Nami, and no, Usopp's in there?
Y'all are talking like Doc Ock isn't on this list.
Luffy.
Let's talk about the real news.
Luffy gets Zoro first, and then it's Nami after, and then Usopp's later.
I think she's introduced, but I think it's Usopp first and then Nami.
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
We're gonna get a Dr. Octopus backpack.
That shit's crazy.
With the fucking tentacles.
That shit's crazy.
That shit's gonna be fire.
I think that'll be a power.
So now, how does he look though? How does he look? Does he have that weird green and yellow suit on, like in the comics and like the animated stuff? Is he trench coat boy with just a black T-shirt on? Like, I think what does Doc Ock look like?
I think those are the two skins. I think you have one that is like the green, and then another that is like trench coat.
Yeah,
Doc Ock.
Because like, what does Doc Ock really look like? Is my question. How do we make him?
Now, do they do Doc like the tentacles are just a backpack, or do they make it like an ability that you find during the game?
Oh
you, like, maybe,
man!
Like,
have you seen some of the abilities they've added?
No.
They got Donnie's stick right now, and so you charge up Donnie from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. You charge it up, and he freaking swings and he flies across the map.
That's pretty.
And of course, they got the cool grapple hook. So they adding stuff. Fantastic Four are all four jabronis in that?
Of course, you gotta have all
Doom.
four.
Oh, he's already in there, right? Dr. Doom.
Oh, is Dr. Doom already in there?
Yeah.
Is the Doom man? Because like, are we adding bad guys to this too? Like, man, what a list.
I mean, maybe he's like the final boss.
You said Robin's in that?
Yeah, Dr. Doom was already in Fortnite.
Yeah, Robin from Batman, which makes sense.
Sick. Damian Wayne?
The Teen Titans version.
I hope it's Damian. Yeah, I like Damian.
Yeah, Magneto, Colossus, Cyclops. You know the Cyclops, like blaster.
They'll definitely add.
Yeah, that's gotta be.
I mean, they've already pretty much added that kind of stuff in the things. So yeah, that's an easy one. That's a fun one.
And I'm surprised Peacemaker wasn't already in there.
I
guess he was in Mortal Kombat. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
We need to circle back because chat is split, and now I need to ask. I have not watched the Netflix adaptation, Mike. Does Usopp join before Nami in the Netflix adaptation? Because in the anime, Nami is there when they get to Usopp's island.
Yes, that's correct.
Dear Six in chat.
That's correct, Barrett. I think you're right.
Man, chat, you guys crack me up sometimes. Let me tell you, I'm not gonna reread Dear Sixless thing, but I see you, Dear Sixlet. Sicko.
You're the best.
What? They're just saying, give me Dick Grayson. I love Dick.
Here's a job I would.
You love what?
I would love to work with that team at Epic Games. The Fortnite team that gets to do all of the connections with other outside IPs, bring them in, and then getting to talk with designers on how we should design them. Hey, talking with the microtransaction teams on how much are we selling these? Is it in a battle pass? What's the date? What a fun role. Yeah. I mean, because this team is on fire. Fortnite has clearly not declined. I think we all thought like Fortnite will eventually die.
Yeah.
It is far from it. It is only growing somehow, which is incredible to say and should be celebrated all the time. But like, man, oh man, how cool with the collabs, dude. How fun.
Very fun.
And that Disney collab, that shit was crazy.
It was crazy.
What the hell is going on, man? It's crazy.
Who knows, man? I want to see what they do with it. But us seeing what Disney and Fortnite do is just so far away. I'm doing the wrong transition right now. Mike, we just talked about a lot of big news. Like that Disney Fortnite thing.
So much.
But if I wanted something smaller, say the tiniest news I needed to know, where would I look?
Blessing, you would go to the new Wii News channel here, brought to you by Kind of Funny Games.
You even try to read the thing.
I don't have it, so I have no idea.
You don't have the. Oh, why are you on your homepage? What the fuck?
That's all I got. That's all I got today. It's just the homepage.
Y'all, for audio listeners, Mike has had his laptop in front of him this entire show. So I've been assuming that he's been reading the doc along with me.
Is it? I was too afraid to tell you that I don't have the doc.
He's been on the desktop of his laptop the entire fucking. Why bring out your laptop?
I don't know. I just wanted to feel like I had one. That's all.
Zero windows open.
I'm just
You're a psychopath.
We're having fun together.
You're an insane person. Story number 8. It's time for Wii News.
Yes.
The Western version of Earth Defense Force 6 has been delayed to summer.
Tough, but good.
Are you an Earth Defense Force person?
I like EDF.
Oh, I
like
didn't know
EDF,
that.
but a smart move to separate yourself away from Helldivers.
Oh,
right. You give Helldivers the hot moment right now. Let them do it because it's so similar. As much people could be like, oh, it's not that similar. It's similar to the common person. Trust me.
Yeah.
And so you let that ride. When it starts to slow down, boom, hit them with EDF. People want to jump in. Smart move.
What the Golf is coming to PS4 and PS5 on March 14th. And then the Banishers Ghosts of New Eden reviews are live. Of course, you can go watch PS I Love You XOXO with me and Greg, where Greg gives his review of it. Right now on OpenCritic, it's sitting at an 83. On Metacritic for PS5, it is sitting at a 76, with IGN giving it a 7 out of 10, PC Gamer giving it a 74, and Push Square giving it an 8 out of 10. I was just looking at
what did Greg say?
Greg was like, it's okay. Like, but it's like, you know how there's like okays and like it's bad okay, but then okays and it's good okay. It sounds like it's more good okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 out of 5 from Kind of Funny. But go watch the full review because I think Greg has a very interesting take on it.
Okay.
And that's it for Wii News. Before we get out of here, let me pull in a couple of super chats for you. ES Fjord says Horizon Forbidden West did the best yellow paint system. And I think that was because of the scan. I mean, I think the scan helped it because like then with the climbable ledges and stuff, like they weren't that pronounced. Like it's not like somebody got some paint and fucking like threw it on the thing like in Resident Evil 4. They were just like, you know, ledges, but then you press the stick button and then it would scan and then you'd see them very clearly.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dance of like, I don't want to be over scanning, right? Like I don't want to go yellow paint route because I would prefer to have it more natural tones, but I understand me getting lost. But the last thing I want is just like scan. Okay, there it is. I get to it. Scan again. Which handhold can I grab? Okay, I grab that. Scan again because I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a dance here. There's a dance.
Yeah, I think Horizon does a good job where you don't have to do that, right? There's like scan once and then you see all the things and then it remains like that. So you just climb up. And then Danny Mitchell writes in and says, I want an Asus ROG Xbox that boots into Windows, Game Pass, and Steam. Steam are benefiting from, or Steam Deck are benefiting from Xbox and PlayStation exclusives. It would be nice to use Steam to benefit console, all games, everywhere.
Yeah, I've been listening to a couple Xbox-centric podcasts, and it seems like we've had some more rumors on a now new console update or maybe a next console, and they're saying it could possibly be 2 SKUs, the normal box that has the heavy lifting, and then a possibly like a Switch type vibe where it's going to be a handheld that you can plug in. I don't know. We'll see. But I do. Let's get this straight. Your boy Mike, growing up with a PSP, I had the Vita. I love I like the idea of a Switch. I don't really care for the Switch, but you give me that in Xbox form, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So like I'm in on that.
You say that now, and then you're gonna lose it under your bed and not charge it. And then
I turned on. So get this, it's been years since I really devoted my life to the Steam Deck, and I never did. But I pulled it out a couple nights ago in bed, turned it on, looked at it, and I said, nope, and I turned it off and I put it away. It just doesn't call to me, Bless.
Yeah.
Are you a guy that games in bed? Do you? And nowadays, whenever I travel, I'm not bringing that stuff with me anymore because I'm trying to live in the moment away from the screen a little bit more.
Good for you.
And so, I don't bring that stuff when I travel anymore. And then on top of that, I'm not in bed going, I gotta just stare at.
See, that's how I played Death Stranding 2. I played all of Death Stranding 2 in bed. It was a fantastic.
Well, you played Death Stranding 2 already?
Oh, sorry, not 2. Sorry, Death Stranding 1. I don't know why I said 2. Sorry, it's the whole
You're
insider
already
thing.
doing the Jeff Trump thing. You're leaking everything,
God damn
man.
it. Sorry, I said Death Stranding 2. My bad. Man, I'm already leaking my DMs. Mike, now it's time for kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Rewrite in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. Cozy Bear says, Star Fox Grand Prix. Did you know gaming released a video last year in which they investigated and confirmed that the rumored title was fabricated by a fan with convincing Photoshop skills? And it was never actually real. The video in question is called Star Fox Grand Prix. Did Nintendo fake it? And is both fascinating and well worth watching. Bear, what did you watch? You watched the fucking fan
I was
thing?
shown a logo by a very prominent person in the industry who was convinced that was a real thing. So that was, and that's where I'll leave it at that. I don't want to call this person out.
Reggie. I won't say Reggie's last name.
Okay, interesting.
But you know the one. Captain Newland writes in and says, let's see. Okay, here we go. Mike says it's bad that Forza is leading the charge for Xbox. However, first-party racing games have historically been the best sellers on console. Oh, actually, I like this one. Gran Turismo was the best-selling game on PS1. 2 was the third best-selling game on PS1. 3 was the second best-selling game on PS2. 4 was the best-selling game on PS2. 5 is the second best-selling game on PS3. And then he talks about the Mario Karts also being best-selling game on Nintendo consoles. I don't think he's talking about best-selling, though. Because is Forza Horizon the best-selling Xbox game? I don't know that
Forza Horizon 5 might be the most played on Game Pass, right? You know what I mean with that, but I appreciate the numbers and I vibe with that. I just don't see the common, if we were in Target today, all of us, and we were behind the counter and families, people came up and we were like, best-selling game, racing. They'd be like, cool, I'm not playing that. You know what I mean? I just don't vibe with that. I don't vibe with what you're putting down as that's the seller. That's why we're getting the console.
Before chat gets into speculation station, I can confirm it was not Greg Miller who showed me that. This was before my time at Kind of Funny. So I'll leave it there.
but good for that. I didn't know they sold so well. Someone said it best. Racing games are universal. It's like soccer.
Yeah.
People worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess my thing is Gran Turismo, the latest one, would have been the one to like bring me into the Gran Turismo family. It just didn't do it.
Oh, you didn't like Milo teaching you about?
It was cool,
Milo?
but I love Forza Horizon so much.
Yeah.
Like I just like the arcade.
You like the arcade, yeah. You and I are Need for Speed boys.
Yeah, and not even Burnout was more my jam. Give me some Burnout.
Give me Need for Speed Underground. That's what I used to play back in the day. That was my move.
Zaxxon Galaxian says, Blessing, The No was a Rooster Teeth news show that gave updates on entertainment and tech, so you have to get the rights from them. I think the operative word, and this you're wrong, is was. Right? It's fucking dead, and I'm taking it, Rooster Teeth. Try to fucking stop me. I'll see you in court. And then Val said Nami is traveling with the crew first, but I think people are getting confused because even though she is traveling with them, she doesn't officially join the crew until after they rescue her from her old crew.
I still consider her as the OG3 because she's introduced first.
I like that. Yeah, I can vibe with that. And then, of course, that is how that goes. Is they get Usopp, and then we got to go to Nami because then we go over there and we save her from the fish guys. Yep. And man, what a beautiful
show.
What a beautiful story.
I have not
rereading the books too, Bless. You know, my goal this year is to get all the way through the TV show and the books. My goal is to get caught up. And so I'm
Sounds like a lot.
It's fun. It's fun. 3 episodes a night is what you have to do if you want to catch up.
Jesus. I'm watching
3 episodes.
The way my year is going, I'm watching 1 TV episode a week.
Here's 3 episodes a night, Bless. That's 20 minutes an episode. That's just an hour.
No, something light.
Of watching one show for like the whole year?
Yeah, but it's a beautiful story.
Beautiful story.
It's an incredible adventure.
But also, most people will watch one night a 45-minute weekly show. I was going to bring up House. Like, House is still relevant.
A weekly show.
You know what? Perfect example was
man.
Watched Halo. Someone wrote it in. I watched Halo Season 2, Episode 1 last night. It was fine. Like, dead in the middle. Not bad, but not great, not good. It was just like, oh, that was fine.
Let me tell you about something you should watch.
Tell me.
It's called Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, you know what?
Featuring Donald Glover and Maya Erskine.
Watch the first episode.
Yeah.
Didn't love the chemistry, but I think that's because we're getting to know each other.
Yeah.
I was just looking for more of like an instant spark. So if they give it to me, I'll be there.
Man, what a show.
Cool spy, like Spy Family vibes. Like cool, intense action.
No, I mean,
kind of hidden secrets.
It flips the idea on its head a little bit.
Okay.
Where, it's not Spy Family. Like, the original movie, I think, was a bit more like Spy Family. But this one is more like, hey, we're just people. Like, it almost leans, at least for where I'm at, because I'm only 4 episodes in now. It leans more like Atlanta-style comedy than I would have expected out of it. But it's also kind of tense. Like, it gets tense at the moments you don't expect.
I like
it. I like it a lot.
Okay.
Mike, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon and YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Until next time, Game Daily.